about it on your own a little bit. So the first thing I did when I look at this is try to sketch something with the focus. So I just sketched a graph. And at 0, positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a focus, and at 0, negative 4. Follow? Your foci are always pulled along the major axis, right? So I already knew just from that, number one, that your center is always halfway between your focus. So I know my center is at 0, 0. And I know that my ellipse is going to be oblong vertically, right? Because the focus pulls it in the longer direction. And the focus, when you go with this a squared plus b squared, or a squared equals b squared plus c squared, the distance from the center is your c value. Because the focus is always along the major axis. And the major axis is always the longer one. Does that make sense? So I know that the other points are going to be further out than this. I don't know how much further out yet because I haven't read any further. But I also know with my focus that c is the distance of the focus from the center. So lowercase c equals 4. So this a squared equals b squared plus 4 squared is what I have right now. Yes? Okay. Then if you have one of your 4 vertices at 0, 6, because I know where my center is at this point, I know that my other vertex is down here. Yes? And again, that's my major axis. So that is going to give me, if the C is the distance from the center to the focus, what's the distance from the center along your major axis? That's your A, right? That's your A value. So your A is now 6. 6 squared equals b squared plus 4 squared. So I would subtract 16 over. That gives me 20 equals b squared. And here's my format. X minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared, because that's my center, right? In the y direction along the major axis, it's pulled 36, because that was pulled. It was pulled 6 units, which would make that 36. And I just found out that b squared is 20, so that's 20. And it equals 1. A lot of you were, well, 3 or 4 of you were close. The ones who tried were close. So, let me steal this. How to write it? You wouldn't know the structure of the... Okay, so here's Maddie's, and she knew that A was 6. You just never put together that C was 4. The distance from center to focus is 4. You needed to use that C was 4 and A was 6 to solve for B to find out how much it was stretched horizontally, because otherwise we wouldn't have known that. Does that make sense? Okay, so you'll be given 2 of the 3, A, B, or C. You'll have enough information to figure them out, I should say. Okie doke? All right. So on this next one, write the equation of the ellipse with a focus at 4, negative 2 and 10, negative 2. So I don't need much space in the left direction. 4, negative 2. And maybe I want to write F on that so I know that's a focus and not a corner of the vertex or of the ellipse. 4, negative 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, negative 2. So because those are laterally left, right next to each other, the X direction is my major axis. Yes? So if you just immediately start with your structure, X something squared plus Y something squared equals 1, I know that the number under the X is bigger. I don't know what it is yet, but I know it's the bigger of the 2. Connor. Center? Yeah. Yep. Your center is halfway between. So that would be halfway between 4 and 10 puts you at 7, negative 2. So x minus 7 and y minus negative 2 is going to make y plus 2. You also know your c value. How far is your center from your focus? How many units? 3. So c equals 3. Good? So far? If you have a vertex at 12, negative 2, that's 2 units beyond that focus to the right. So your other one is going to be 2 units beyond the other focus to the left to really stretch that out. That's giving us the total major axis length. And half of that is kind of the amount it was stretched. So that is 5 units, right? So A is 5. The major axis is stretched 5 units, so A is 5, making underneath the x squared part what? 25. Good. And then all we need to do is find B, square it, and we'll be done. Because that's going to be the denominator and how far it's stretched in the y direction. So C is the distance between the center and the focus, so I just counted that, knowing that the center was always halfway in between. So A squared is 25 equals B squared plus C squared is 9. Subtract 9 from both sides, and B squared equals 16. So B equals 4. So this, if you wanted to really complete the picture, you would stretch it up 4 and down 4. You don't really have to do that. This denominator is what? 16. Good? Yes. Ellipses, you always make them equal 1. Any questions? Okay, the last one. They're giving you the center. Well, then I'm just going to do this right away. I just need to find A and B and figure out how this thing is stretched, which I will not do without a picture. So there's my center. And then I have a vertice at some point at 3, negative 3. So right there. So where's another vertice? If here's my center and they just gave me one that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units below, I'm going to go 5 units above and come up with the upper, well, I'm assuming this is oblong up and down. If it's not, I might run out of room. I don't really know yet for sure though. But now I do, because the focus is at 3, negative 1. And the focus is always along the major axis. So I do know that this is going to be oblong up and down. So what is my A value? What was the stretch? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does everyone see that? What was the distance between the center and the focus? What's the distance between the center and the focus? 3. I could do the other focus up here. Why, is that what it was last time? Oh. 3 and 5 is just a nice combo because it makes 4, yeah. So the 5, A is the amount it was stretched along the major axis. And so I knew from center to along the major axis it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then center to focus always gives you your C. You can calculate your B. So what do we have? We're going to have the same thing we had last time. 25 squared, or 25 equals. Is it flipped? No. No, it's not. Well, right, it's going to go under the different one. Yeah. But our B squared is still going to be 25 equals B squared plus 9. B squared is still going to equal 16. So it's stretched 4 units in the X direction. And there's kind of the shape of it. So the 16 is the way it was stretched in the X direction. So I'm going to put the 16 under the X. And the 25 is the way it was stretched in the vertical direction. So that's what I'm going to put under the Y. Piece of cake, right?